Are you making these common concealed carry mistakes in New Jersey? I'm going to tell you something that most people don't want to hear. You finally got your carry permit in New Jersey, but you're still not safe. Because thousands of permit holders across the state are making these mistakes that could cost them their permit, their firearm, or worse, their freedom. And many don't realize until it's too late. Today, I'll walk you through the 5 most common concealed carry mistakes I see right here in New Jersey and how you can avoid them. I'm Steve from Martell Training Group, and as a retired New Jersey State Trooper and firearms instructor, I've seen these mistakes happen and I've seen the consequences. Let's make sure you're not the next cautionary tale. In New Jersey, carrying concealed isn't just about carrying. It's about carrying legally, carrying smart, and carrying prepared. Today, I'll break down the 5 most common mistakes I see New Jersey permit holders making and how you can avoid being the next one to lose everything. Mistake number 1, not understanding the sensitive places. So for folks issued a New Jersey carry permit under NJS 2C58-4, there is a list of sensitive places that you must avoid. New Jersey has a long list of sensitive places, including schools, municipal buildings, some parking lots, restaurants that serve alcohol. Assuming it's, quote, probably fine is the fastest way to lose your permit. Here's a typical day of me going about my business, getting a haircut. I go to the next town over from mine, and I wanted to show this video, folks, because if you're in a similar situation, I know this town, I'm here a few times a month. I know where to go, where to park. If you're coming here for the first time and somebody says, oh, this is a nice little town to shop at, and you're driving along and you see a sign for parking, and I want to show you how quickly you can find yourself in a bad situation when you're carrying. So you're driving along. Here I am in this town right next to mine, so I'm familiar with this area, but you may not be. So you're driving along, you decide this is a nice little place to, I want to stop, I want to park, I want to walk around. There's a lot of nice shops here. So I'm going to show you that I see a sign for parking right here. I'm turning in here. I don't know really what this lot is. So coming in this way, the back of the lot, you may not realize that this is a municipal parking lot. So now I'm carrying, I realize, oh, this is a municipal lot, there's Borough Hall. I can't carry here. Now you're in this lot and you see that there are police cars, you see that there's the township building, and now you have 2 choices. You can leave, which I would highly recommend you do. You go park on the street somewhere in a different spot or find a private lot if there are any available. Or the other option is to take your chances, which I would not recommend, because here's how you can jam yourself up. So let's just say we park and we're going to be 5 minutes, we're going to be 10 minutes. Maybe there's a store we know we're going to go to. Maybe we're just going to get a cup of coffee and we know, you know what, I'm going to be 5-10 minutes. I'll just go and I'll come right back. I'll leave. No harm, no foul. The problem with that is I like to do a lot of what if scenarios. So what if while you're gone for that 10 minutes, somebody backs into your car, and of course they're a good Samaritan and they go to the police station, which is right across the parking lot, and they say, hey, I hit this car. Now you come back to your car with your coffee and there's a police officer and another driver there. You have some minor damage to your car and the police officer's taking information for a report. So now you're in another difficult situation because now, according to statute, if you're stopped or detained by a law enforcement officer, whether in your car or on foot, you're carrying, you must tell them, disclose to them, hey, by the way, I'm legally carrying and here's my carry permit. And you're supposed to show them your carry permit. If that happens, now you're in a situation where you have to disclose it. And then to take it one step further, what if the police officers, and it doesn't have to be somebody that backed into your car, maybe somebody broke one of your windows to try to steal something out of your car. It could be any number of things. I'm just doing a what if here. You come back to your car, they're there. Now, what if the police officer says, oh, why don't you 2 follow me into the station so I can make copies of your documents? I'll do the report and then I won't hold you up anymore. So you can refuse to go into the police station, but that would seem a little odd, wouldn't it? They're there to fill out a report for the damage to your car, and now you don't want to go into the police station, so that's going to arouse some suspicion. So now you go into the police station. If you weren't sure about the parking lot, you definitely know you're not supposed to be in the police station while carrying. That's definitely one of the sensitive areas. So what do you do at this point? Do you come clean? Do you tell them, by the way, I'm carrying? I pulled into this parking lot. I was only going to be 10 minutes. That's how you can go down that rabbit hole and jam yourself up with a simple parking spot. So my recommendation would be you pull in and you realize, because you pulled in the back of the lot, you followed the sign that said parking, you pulled in, you get there and you realize, oh wow, this is a municipal parking lot. There's a municipal building, there's police cars, I can't park here. You just leave, you drive away. So now you've briefly gone onto the property, you're not supposed to be there, you didn't realize it, now you realize it. Now the statute describes it as a de minimis infraction or a brief incidental entry onto the property. So in good faith, you realize you get there, oh wow, I'm not supposed to be here. You just leave, you drive off. And if you happen to be stopped by the police on your way out and somehow it comes out that you're carrying, you just explain it. Yeah, I pulled in, I didn't know this was a municipal lot, and I realized that I'm carrying, I can't. And you leave. You should be fine. Find a spot on the street and now you're fine. You're not in one of the sensitive places, assuming that the street is not located within a sensitive area. Another quick example I wanted to share with you folks. I have kids, they're still in school. You're driving around, if you have kids, you have your carry permit, you're doing your errands or whatever you're doing, going about your day. You get a call from your kid's school, from the nurse saying, your child's sick, you need to come pick them up, they have a fever, whatever the case may be. Now you're out and about, maybe you're near the school, you go to the school, now you pull up to the school depending on how your school is situated. It's definitely a sensitive place, you cannot carry at a school. So now you have, again, two choices. So if your school has a parking lot, you pull onto that parking lot and you're carrying, and you know you're carrying, which you should know you're carrying. Now you know you're pulling onto the school property. If you happen to be driving down a street that goes onto a property or area that's deemed sensitive and you're transitioning the area or briefly enter onto that property, then that's considered a de minimis infraction. But in this case, you know you're going to your kid's school to pick them up because they're sick, you got a phone call. So if you pull into that parking lot with your gun, you're in violation. Now, my suggestion would be you park in the street or somewhere else off school property, or safely unload your gun and secure it properly according to statute. I've done a video on this, how to safely load and unload your gun in your vehicle, because more and more people have to do it with all the sensitive places in New Jersey. The last example of a sensitive place that many people may not realize is any restaurant or facility that sells alcohol for consumption on the premises. So this includes a diner. So a lot of New Jersey diners have liquor licenses. You see, this is one of my favorite diners in South Jersey, and it says right on the sign, bar. They have a bar, but you could order a beer while you're at the table. Not that anyone carrying should be drinking anyway, because that's also part of the statute. I hear all the time of someone that was at a diner carrying, and they don't even think that that's a violation because maybe they don't drink at a diner. They go there for breakfast, they go there for lunch, and they never drink alcohol at a diner. Maybe they don't even consume alcohol themselves, but they have to understand that you can't go to any restaurant that serves alcohol, whether you're drinking or not. And if you're carrying, you shouldn't be drinking anyway. Mistake number 2, printing and improper concealment. Now I know many of you are going to say, well, I thought printing wasn't illegal. It's not illegal in and of itself. So if it happens by accident, that's one thing. But if you're purposely wearing clothes that don't fit and don't properly conceal your gun, that's not a good thing for a couple of reasons. Number one, someone's probably going to call the police on you. And I know some of you are saying, well, I have a legal carry permit. If it's not illegal to print, who cares? You'll care when the police intercept you because they don't know someone reported you carrying a gun and they don't know whether you're legally allowed to carry it or not. So how they react, I guess, depends on your demeanor and the situation and where you are. But purposely knowing that if you're showing a gun in any way, even by printing, someone may call the police or security on you, and now you've got to deal with that. That yes, I'm legally allowed to carry, and I don't know why anyone would purposely want to cause that kind of a confrontation with security or police if they don't have to. The other thing is that, and I've done a video on this, tactically it gives you are at a disadvantage if someone knows that you're carrying a gun. So to me, concealment is preferred. In New Jersey, you're required to carry concealed unless you fall under one of the exceptions. Active law enforcement, whether on duty or off duty, you are carrying under the retired police officer permit to carry. In a lot of those cases, it's for work-related armed security, or if you're carrying under the civilian permit to carry, but you are working as an armed security officer and you have a requirement to carry openly. Otherwise, everyone has to carry concealed in New Jersey. To me, that's an advantage anyway because it gives you the tactical advantage. I don't want people to know that I'm carrying. If I do have to use my gun, I want it to be a surprise for the attacker. I don't want them to know that I have a gun beforehand. To me, that's a big mistake. And I have to tell you folks that as a trooper, when I was a new trooper and I had to carry off duty, this was a very new thing to me. And I had to go out and get some different clothing because my clothing that I had prior to becoming a trooper, it didn't allow me to conceal my gun or any gun very easily. So I had to change my clothing. I had to kind of wear an outer shirt or a looser fitting shirt to cover my gun depending on where I was carrying it. So that is something that you're gonna have to do. Improper holster also fits in this category of mistakes. You must have a holster in New Jersey that's by statute covers the trigger, keeps the gun securely fastened to your body, and it allows it to be readily accessible. So not only that, it should be a decent holster, good quality holster, whether it's leather, whether it's Kydex, whether it's a combination of both. It doesn't matter. It should be a decent holster. There are levels of retention, which we're not going to get into here, but as you go up in levels of retention, the holster is bigger or bulkier. So you just have to pick the right holster for you, and you have to make sure that it holds that gun securely to your body, allows you to access it quickly when needed. And that also includes your belt or whatever system you're securing that holster to. So if somebody grabs that holster in a confrontation and pulls it, they shouldn't be able to pull it off your body. If it's an older or weaker holster and it rips right off your belt when they grab it and tug on it, that's not good either. And a decent way to secure it to your body, whether it's a belt, whether it's inside the waistband, however you secure it with a clip, 2 clips, however you do it, it should be a decent system. Mistake number 3, mishandling traffic stops or any police interaction for that matter. So on a car stop or any kind of police interaction, your job is really simple. It is to disclose properly, because New Jersey statute requires that if you are detained or stopped by the police and you're carrying under 2C58.4, you need to disclose that you're carrying and show your permit to carry. So that's really your job, is to keep your hands visible, follow instructions, and disclose, which involves showing your carry permit. One bad interaction can result in an immediate suspension or revocation of your carry permit. So just keep that in mind. The side of the road is not the place for debate or to get into a disagreement about something, but out on the road is not a time to do it. Cars whizzing by. It's loud, it's hard to hear. You know, police have their safety and your safety to worry about. After all, they've stopped you, they've caused you to stop your car, they turned on their overhead lights. They are responsible for your safety. So making it more about, you know, why are you asking me these questions, or it's not gonna help the situation. Out on the road is not the place for debate. If you feel like you have a legitimate complaint, you can certainly make that later. And keep in mind that this is a relatively new thing in New Jersey after NYSERPA versus Bruin. Yes, it's been 3 years. To me, that's still relatively new because there are a lot of police officers out there that have not had the interaction with people that are carrying legally. So it is a relatively new thing in New Jersey. Depending on how your feelings are on that all police should know every law pertaining to the carry permits, and they shouldn't be asking me, this or that. However you feel about it, just remember that it all comes back to officer safety. And if it's a young officer, inexperienced, they haven't had that interaction yet, they may ask you some questions that you might think are a little off the beaten track. But again, this is a relatively new thing in New Jersey. 3 years is not a long time to me. And I know some police have not had either any or many interactions with people that are legally carrying other than off-duty law enforcement officers or armed security. Mistake number 4, failure to maintain training. This is a big one, folks. I've seen this a lot. A lot of people get their permit and they stop training. They say, well, I don't have to go to classes. I had to do the minimum. I did. One thing I want to mention, you do have to qualify every 2 years. So when your 2-year renewal comes up, you have to get with an instructor and shoot that course of fire at the range. You don't have to take all the classes and the range instruction again, as long as you're still valid when you reapply, but you do have to qualify every 2 years. That being said, that should not be your mindset that I just have to find an instructor and qualify. You should be training on a regular basis. You should really be training and trying to do more advanced training, like go through scenarios with an instructor on real world situations. Weapon retention is a big one that I stress. You're carrying a gun, you should have some basic self-defense training with some basic moves if you've never had any self-defense training. Many self-defense encounters in the real world, believe it or not, are not lethal force situations. They may start as pushing or shoving or a punch or a slap. If that's the case and it's more of a simple assault situation, you cannot go right to your firearm. And New Jersey has a law against brandishing as well. So you can't just pull up your shirt if someone's mouthing off to you or your girlfriend and you don't like the way they're talking. You can't just pull up your shirt and say, keep your mouth shut or else, because that's a violation of law in New Jersey. So you have to, in my opinion, have some basic self-defense training, because more than likely if you get into an encounter or situation that becomes physical, it will likely start as a physical confrontation, which means you can't just go right to lethal force, which is your firearm. Keep training, go to the range as often as you can. I know ammunition is expensive. It's expensive to go to the range. Sometimes you can't get there, but you do have the option of dry fire training. I've done videos on that. You get yourself a red gun, there's many different training guns out there available. You can even use your own gun for dry fire practice. You just have to keep racking the slide if it's a semi-automatic, and you have to make sure that the ammo is completely away from the gun, not even in the room, and you clear the gun. You make sure the gun's unloaded before you do anything, of course. So you can even use your own gun. So there are ways to do that more cheaply than going to the range and using live ammunition. Of course, there's no substitute for live training at the range, but we can't get there all the time, and ammunition is very expensive sometimes when we're shooting a lot. So just imagine a scenario where you got your carry permit and now it's almost 2 years later and you just haven't been to the range, you haven't been shooting. Something happens, it's about to be a lethal force situation. You haven't shot your gun in almost 2 years and you may have to use it. There are other people around possibly. It's just not a place you want to be. It's different for a lot of people. I know some people are naturals at shooting and maybe they feel comfortable doing that. I think that in my experience, most people, they get a little rusty after a while and they need that repetition to stay proficient. And if you're talking about a self-defense situation that's out in public, which that's what we're talking about when we're talking about concealed carry, assume that there are going to be other people around. And you need to be on top of your game if you're going to use your firearm when other people are around, other innocent people are around. So you need to keep training. You need to continue the training. I don't feel training should be mandated, but that being said, I feel like it's something that you as a responsible concealed carry person should want to do. You should want to continue your training. Remember, the permit does not make you proficient. Repetition does. And that brings us to mistake number 5, poor legal preparedness. Not knowing what to say if and when you're involved in an incident. Not having some type of legal defense policy. Now in New Jersey, at the time of this recording, there are no insurance carriers that are offering policies for liability for any kind of firearm or self-defense related incident that I know of. There are policies out there that you can get that would provide you legal coverage, meaning attorney fees if you are involved in a self-defense shooting incident. I would highly recommend you research these and get one of these policies if it's available where you live. People have paid over $100,000. So even if you are eventually cleared in the shooting, you have to pay your attorney and the fees that go along with that. It could be well over $100,000. It could take 1 to 2 years to resolve, and that's a long time and it's a lot of money. So unless you have $100,000 or $200,000 in the bank, I would highly recommend you look into one of these legal defense policies. Again, in New Jersey, currently, to my knowledge, there are no civil liability policies available, but there are policies that would cover you for legal fees from your attorney. They usually have a list of attorneys that you can call in the event that you get involved in an incident. Surviving the incident is one thing, surviving the legal system is another. So for example, you're involved in a shooting. One of the things that, and if you get one of these policies or join one of these organizations as a member, some of them like USCCA will give you a card and it will have instructions for you to say, I want to exercise my Fifth Amendment right and remain silent. I would like an attorney before I answer any questions. My thing is, you get involved in something, try to be the first one to call 911. Try to be the first one to talk to the police and say, keep it simple, but I would not talk at any length or detail about what happened without an attorney. I would say something simple like, I want to help, but I would like an attorney present before I talk. You know, you don't have to be rude about it. You can just say, I want to cooperate, but I would like my attorney here. And you could keep it that simple. Keep in mind, you may get arrested anyway. If the police don't have all the information, even if they do have all the information, they may arrest you, they may charge you, they may not charge you then, they may charge you later. There's a whole bunch of different things that could happen or not happen, but expect you will be at least arrested and taken to the station for processing, questioning. But again, I would stress that you want your attorney there before you answer any questions. Part of this mistake is not understanding the use of force laws in New Jersey. New Jersey is not like other states. We do not have a stand your ground law. Even in your own house, where people say, oh, you don't have to retreat in your own house. That may be true, but that doesn't mean you can go right to lethal force just because something's happening inside your house. So New Jersey is very specific on use of force. You are allowed to use a level of force to protect yourself. Everyone is. It just depends on what is this force you're facing, what's unfolding in front of you that will determine the level of force you can use. And it could change in a split second, of course. You need to understand New Jersey's use of force, because if you don't, you could get yourself in trouble real fast. And here's what hurts. I've seen good people lose their permits, their jobs, and even in some cases their freedom, not because they're bad people, because they never truly understood how serious these mistakes are in New Jersey. Carrying in New Jersey is about responsibility. These mistakes are avoidable, but only if you prepare. So we've created an online course. The link is below if you want to click on the link and get some more information. It's online course over 23 hours, Elevate Situational Awareness and Mastering Concealed Carry. We go into detail about use of force law in New Jersey. There's also a link to a free personal safety and situational awareness guide. It's on the screen and also in the description. So click on that link to get your free, it's a PDF, actually 16 guides in one. And folks, if you like this video, hit that like button and share it with anyone you think will benefit. Subscribe for more videos on New Jersey specific concealed carry topics, but more importantly, stay safe, stay trained, and stay legal.